All right, we will call this regular council meeting for November the 10th to order. It's 3 p.m. and I'll ask Councillor Hill to please read the land acknowledgement.
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. The town of Innisfail acknowledges that we are meeting on Treaty 7 territory and the ancestral and traditional territory of the Blackfoot Confederation, Chris. Kainai, Pekani, and Siksika, as well as the Tsuut'ina First Nations and Stoney Nakoda First Nation. We acknowledge that this territory is home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3 within the historical Northwest Métis homeland. We acknowledge the many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit who have lived in and cared for these lands for generations. We are grateful for their traditional acknowledgement, knowledge keepers and elders who are still with us today, and those who have gone before us. We make this acknowledgement as an act of reconciliation and gratitude for those whose territory we reside on.
All right, thank you, Councillor Hill. We'll move on to 2.1. Are there any additions or deletions? Could I please have someone make a motion to adopt the agenda as presented? Councillor McKellar.
I'll move the agenda as it presented.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Carried. We'll move into 3.1, the regular council meeting minutes for November the 3rd. Please have someone make a motion to accept those. Councillor Wing.
Mayor Barkley, I'll move those minutes.
Okay, thank you. Any errors, changes? No. All in favor? Carried. And then the organizational meeting minutes for November the 3rd. Please have someone make a motion to accept those as presented. Councillor Hill.
I'll make that motion, Mayor Barkley.
Perfect, thank you. All in favor? Okay, carried. All right, we'll move into the regular part of the agenda, and I'll call on CEO Becker to give us his report.
Thanks, Mayor Barkley. In simple terms, Council, the report is there for your consideration, for your review. If there's any questions regarding the report or anything else operationally or administratively, we'd be happy to answer your questions.
All right, thank you. Does anybody have any questions for CEO Becker? Anything in his report? See nothing. Please have a motion to accept the CEO report. Councillor Strong.
Mayor Barkley, the Council approves the Chief Administrative Officer report dated November 10th, 2025 as information.
Perfect, thank you. All in favor? Okay, carried. And then we'll move into Council Action Control. And if there's no questions, we'll just
maybe we could come in, Mayor Barkley, onto the very first item, environment public participation. So it might be worthwhile for new council to have a briefing on this action item to determine if council wishes to proceed with maintaining that dialogue with Varma. But first, for council to understand what is this Varma conversation about and why is it still on our plan. So I'll come back to you in a little bit more detail and determine if this is still suited for your action plan.
Sure. Maybe we could have Varma do a presentation to us if possible via Zoom. Okay, I'll just have somebody please make a motion that we accept the Council Action Control as information. Councillor Hystad.
Mayor Barkley, I'll make that motion to accept the action control.
Perfect, thank you. All in favor? Carried. And then we'll move on to 4.3 and the Intermunicipal Collaborative Framework with CEO Becker.
Thanks, Mayor Barkley. This report is to inform council of a legislative requirement of all municipalities in Alberta to have an ICF or an intermunicipal collaboration framework agreement with their neighboring or encompassing municipalities. Just to give you some context, the town of Innisfail has an ICF agreement with Red Deer County. Red Deer County, in the meantime, has an ICF agreement with the town of Innisfail, town of Sylvan Lake, town of Panholds, Clearwater County, Lacombe County, Neat Hill County, Mountain View County, etc. So whoever you're touching, basically, you have an ICF agreement with. So for us as an urban, not simple, but simpler, I suppose, than a rural, we are required to have an ICF agreement through bylaw with Red Deer County. The importance of this report is just to inform you of the legislative requirements. I'd like to go through the bylaw with you, but also to indicate that part of the action plan of 2026 is to update the ICF agreement with the Ritter County, which is slated for formal adoption in the spring of 2026. So as the report states, there's a company report which was presented to council back May 21st, 2024. Just a little bit more information as per the legislative adjustments where it was required to have a 5-year review period. Then the government or minister said, no, you can have 7 years going into 2026. So just to go into the actual agreement, which stated it's through bylaw. So Red Deer County would have the same bylaw, same agreement, obviously. So just walking through, I'll just kind of grab nuggets out of the bylaw, and please interrupt or ask questions as you require, and just moving this forward. Intermunicipal cooperation, B, the Intermunicipal Committee established under the Intermunicipal Development Plan, so IDP, is the forum for reviewing the ICF. So council members that are appointed to the IDP Committee, Intermunicipal Development Plan Committee, are those ones associated with the ICF workings. So we concluded that last week. General terms, basically, both municipalities agree consideration of service agreements outlined in this section. Residents of both municipalities will be offered the same services at the same cost, including user fees, as the town of Innisfil residents for services provided by Red Deer County, and county residents for services provided by the town of Innisfil. So it's just an reciprocating service, just afforded the same services and at the same cost, which is something I want to put some emphasis on. D section, municipal services. Both municipalities have reviewed services, and based on the review, it was determined that the municipalities will continue to provide the following services independently of each other. So I'll let you go through that list. One thing that has changed is, well, no, I'll get to that in a second, sorry. Number 2, so municipalities have a history of working together to provide municipal services to the residents on an intermunicipal basis, with the following services being provided directly or indirectly to the residents. And again, there are some services there. If there's anything you require for clarification on those services, please ask. Just going to C, so back up there, we need just under C, community services. You're going to see later on the agenda the recreation agreements review. There's also an agreement with 62 participating municipalities on the Parkland Regional Library Board, as well as agreements with adjacent municipalities, members participating on the Parkland Foundation, which is the housing authority. We'll talk about solid waste services, emergency services. Municipalities with additional partners have the following agreements in place to aid in the event of emergencies, from the Joint Municipal Emergency Plan, the Emergency Services Mutual Aid Agreement, and the Fire Protection Services Agreements. F, weed services and services, weed inspection services has been adjusted back internally. We've adjusted that from the Red Deer County looking at it. So you're required by the province to have a qualified and appointed weed inspector, and we have that now internally through the director's department. That was conducted through a service level review and decided is best and more efficient to do that internally. The economic development, and it's outlined in the IDP, Intermunicipal Development Plan. The economic development component in relation to Red Deer County, there's a joint economic area agreements in place. Basically, it's the east side of QE2. Within the town boundaries, there's a joint economic area that has potential for future growth. We would basically move into a tax sharing agreement based on providing services, water and sewer. So the committee will get into that discussion in due time. IDP, I referenced that a few times. So that was recently updated, 2024, Director perhaps 2023, but somewhere in that range. So that was an outstanding, as you can see, 2006, quite old. We updated that recently to be more modern. It will be a plan that will be reviewed with council in again, due time. Section E just talks about future projects and agreements, and how each municipality can initiate a development of a new project. Yeah, there's a full process that is undertaken to initiate new projects. I must state that from my perspective of the ICF agreement was pursued to advance into meeting the legislation of a deadline. Let's get this done into place and go from there. Has it been utilized to the full extent of how it's written? I don't believe so. There has not been regular meetings of ICF committee. And only until recently, we started using the processes of ICF to its full intent. And we'll get into that at a later time. F is dispute resolution. Again, how do you move into having formal conversations when we're in dispute with Red Deer County? So the full process is there for council consideration. And I'll stop there, Mayor Barkley, if there's any questions to this report.
Sure, thank you. Does anyone have any questions for CEO? Don't see any. Okay. We'll just have a motion then, please. As per the recommendation, Councillor Russell.
Mayor Barclay, I'll move that council accept the Intermunicipal Collaboration Framework report as information.
All right, thank you. All in favor? Carried. Okay, and we'll get into 5.1, the State Infrastructure Report with Director Kennedy.
Thanks, Mayor Barkley. So, have in front of you just a report bringing back from September. We did present to council at the time a draft of the State of Infrastructure Report. We have attached that report for your review. At that time, we did provide a summary, which is as follows. The report itself to support long-term planning, as well as informing decision-making. Tagish Engineering completed the report on behalf of the town. The report summarizes the current state of municipal assets, providing key data and insights to guide future infrastructure management, investment, and service delivery. This report is a collection of asset data provided by the town, operations and planning department as of May 2025. The assets are grouped into 7 categories: transportation, utilities, outdoor recreation, urban features, municipal properties, fleet, IT services, which is under development, as well as enforcement and emergency services, also under development. The report provides a snapshot of the town's current asset inventory to offer an understanding of the following. 1, the inventory, what do we have? 2nd is the asset value, how much is that inventory worth? The condition, its physical conditioning, as well as reinvestment. How much do we invest in our asset and how much should we be investing? Some of the key findings: overall condition is a B or good. Total estimated portfolio is 334 million. Our recommended annual spending is 6.78 million, with the projected annual spending being 4.27 based on our 10-year capital. This report serves as a replacement of the State of Infrastructure Update 2024 memorandum, which was prepared by our senior leadership team through the work of our engineering coordinator. The information contained in the State of Infrastructure Report can be used for long-term asset management to assist the town in effectively assess, manage, and balance competing priorities across all the asset categories. As the town grows, the town will need to balance the demands of expanding infrastructure with the need to maintain and renew aging assets. Doing so requires a proactive, data-driven approach to asset management, one that aligns with long-term financial planning as well as service delivery goals. Administration has developed a comprehensive 10-year capital plan based on the data and priorities compiled in the State of Infrastructure Report. Projects are prioritized depending on the type of infrastructure, service impact, as well as the overall capital budget. State of Infrastructure serves not only as a technical guide or a tool to guide future capital investment decisions, but also as a public-facing document that enhances transparency and accountability. The insights provided herein will support council, administration, and residents in making informed decisions that ensure the town's infrastructure remains resilient, effective, efficient, and responsive to the needs of the community. This report will remain in draft until the new council, or this council, completes a new strategic plan in 2026. The final report is anticipated to be completed in July and presented back to council for review and adoption at that time. From the presentation that we did in September, we did collect a bit of feedback. So one being adding the age of infrastructure within the report. Second being developing a communication plan on how we're going to distribute this document, as well as developing a risk registry. So to date, we have completed a communication plan, which we did roll out in our Involve Innisfail, building a separate site to that, as well as sending out a insert into our utility bill in regards to some highlights. So that plan is also attached for your review. So I will take any questions council may have in regards to the report.
All right, thank you, Director Kennedy. I'll open it up for questions. Very important document for us and sets budget discussions going forward. But I think, go ahead, Councillor Russell.
Thanks, Mayor Barclay. This is just a summary overview. I'm assuming that a more detailed list has been provided to administration of each of our assets and which ones specifically are rated in the, I guess, not so good categories that are there and need immediate attention. I mean, that's not in this package. I understand that. There's administrative data that they need, but just wanted to ensure that this was more comprehensive than what we're seeing that was provided.
Councillor Russell. Yeah, so in the State of Infrastructure Report, there is itemized infrastructure, for instance, the water system, indicating the existing condition as well as if council needed or wanted some more additional information, we were able to provide that further detail if needed. Yeah, for sure.
Mayor Barclay, just a follow-up question to that. So I'm not sure council needs to see that type of detail, but I guess I would just like to be assured that that's what's being used to base your 10-year plan on in terms of what we're doing for capital.
Yep, to Councillor Russell. Yes, definitely that's what we use as our data that we have for each individual linear asset.
Thank you, Councillor Russell. Any other questions?
Mayor Barclay, through to Director Kennedy. So am I correct to assume from just looking at this high-level report, we talk about right now, we're projecting 4.27 million in the budget that we're spending, but the actual recommendation should be 6.75 million per month, or per year, sorry?
Yep, to Councillor McKellar. Yes, so that is the recommendation projected in order to maintain our service levels. What we've done is we've looked at our 10-year capital based on a projected estimated budget of the last 5 years and continuing on. So if we continue on at 4.27, what we're projecting based on the report is that you will start to see a slow trend down in our service level and our conditions, with the recommendation of just over 6 million being to maintain that rating that as of the snapshot to date, if that makes sense.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Russell.
So Mayor Barclay, I just want a clarification. So the current renovation that's happening at the Aquatic Center is over 14 million. So when you factor that in, that's significant in 1 year. Does that like, are we looking at an average spending of 6 million, whereas this year we're spending almost 14 million on the pool? Does that mean, it does compensate some for the lack of spending in maybe previous years?
Director Kennedy?
Councillor, so yes, that will make it an effect when we do the next update. We will then look at a 5-year projection again. That will then adjust those ratings accordingly as we do these major infrastructure replacements. How that affects it exactly, that's why we do these based on, we're recommending 3 to 5 years, because then it will take that effect average versus just doing a little spike here and there. We take that 5-year average.
But Director Kennedy, the indoor recreation is not, like, we know the arena was on a list at one point in time. We saw that potentially, I think, 8 million. And, but I think, I don't know when it was, maybe 2000, and Director Vickers would know, I think it was 2000, maybe 19, when we started putting money aside into a reserve for recreation funding. 20 maybe.
Yeah, Mayor Barclay, I'd have to double check exactly, but I think it was after COVID.
Was it after?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so we started putting, I think, 450,000 into a reserve, was it?
For the pool specifically, Mayor Barclay, we started off slow and we're building that in year after year, and we're still going for this year and then even like 26 and 27 to build up for that full save.
Yeah, it wasn't just I think there was a recreation reserve fund that we began in around 2000. It was my first term.
So we have a facility reserve that
Yeah.
does have some additional dollars outside of the pool save that we've been saving for. But, so that is still sitting in that reserve, and it's sitting around 865.
But it's safe to say we're behind on indoor recreation, right? Because it's not, we haven't completed this asset management plan either.
To Mayor Barclay, based on the plan that, Medina has here, if you can scroll down just a little bit more, you'll see our reserves. We have our stabilization contingency, we have our capital reserve kind of categories there. We have our general capital, we have our facility capital life cycle, that's the one I believe you're referring to. We have our fleet capital reserve as well as our infrastructure capital for, that's just all encompassing infrastructure. And then we have 2 dedicated reserves as well under the utilities department for utility capital as well as utility fleet. There you'll see in our life cycle capital replacement this year, we are, because of the pool, we are utilizing that reserve. That's why you see it kind of balancing out at 0 this year, because that is going to be focused on the pool. But then we are showing, as the years go on, building that back up again so that we can then try and tackle the next big project. Highlighting in 2029, I believe, is that big arena project that you were mentioning, showing that we do have a significant deficit for that project. So the kind of highlights, we can definitely get into more detail here when we get into our budget talks on this and kind of really dive into the capital. But that gives you an idea just where we fund and we try and maintain that reserve balance. And that relates back to our 4.27, where we use that number of what's a reasonable balance based on the funding and reserves contributions that we put into reserves. That's how we established that. We came up with that number, that $4 million is, because we definitely could put 6, but then you will notice then in 2030, we would have no money left. So that's how we did come up with that. What's a manageable number and what does that do to or how does that affect our infrastructure? Hopefully that helps explain that.
Yeah, no, for sure, thanks. Any further questions? Then I guess saving for the next aquatic center, right? Start now.
Mayor Barclay, I could add that council can expect a review of all the reserves that we have and outline what the policy, what the dedications are, and that'll come through the Director of Corporate Services.
Yeah, perfect, thank you. All right, well, if there's no further questions, I'd have somebody please make a motion. Councillor Heistad?
Yeah, I'll make that motion, Mayor Barclay, that council accept the State of Infrastructure Report update as information.
All right, Thank you. All in favor? Carried. All right, and we'll move into 6.1 with Director Vickers.
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. So this report here is just to provide the third quarter financials before council. So our financial reporting practices are guided by both the Municipal Government Act as well as the town's budget policy that you guys reviewed last week. The MGA has legislative requirements for annual financial reporting, including the preparation and presentation of audited financial statements to council after the end of each fiscal year. But in addition to this, the administration presented last week, our budget policy establishes the need for quarterly financial updates to be presented to council. And this is so that council can receive regular insights into the town's financial performance, comparing the revenues and expenditures to the approved annual budget. Quarterly reporting supports transparency, accountability, and proactive financial management by allowing council to monitor these results throughout the year and identify any significant trends or variances. So the financial information currently being presented reflects the results for the third quarter of 2025, and that does cover the period of January 1st all the way to September 30th. Administration has reviewed the financial information in detail and compared the actual results to the approved 2025 budget, which was adopted by council back on December 9th of 2024. Based on this review, administration has confirmed that the financial information provides a fair and accurate reflection of the town's financial position as of September 30th of 2025. So we'll just get into some of the financials right now. So we always look at revenues to start. So the current financials show an overall revenue of 88% compared to the budget. We always like to look at that quarterly financial target number, which for the third quarter is 75%. We always like to compare ourselves to last year, so we've actually generated 1% more revenue this year than we have last year. So we just like to kind of do a hard look into some of them. So business licenses is sitting at 102%, which has been sitting at 102% pretty much since the first quarter. The majority of our business license revenue is collected in that first quarter, and we are on track and consistent with prior years. Animal licenses is currently sitting at 78%. So this is similar to business license where it's collected primarily earlier in the year. And it is progressing as anticipated. This is very similar to what we've seen in the last couple of years. Local conditional grants is sitting at 95%. So this is made up entirely of the Red Deer County grant that we receive. So we have received all of the funding for this year. Tax revenue is sitting at 102%. So we recognize all tax revenue in the second quarter of the year, as is our standard counting practice. So the figure reflects the full amount levied, right? So when we levy the taxes, the entire amount goes into our revenue, and any outstanding is sitting in our collectible account. So as per December 30th, our outstanding balance was just over that $361,000, which is about 3.51%. Which is right on par with where we're sitting at this year. We generally have another look again at the end of December, just because January 1st is when our next penalty is levied for taxes. I did just keep in some of the history of the past years. Now note, these were all as of June 30th days, except for the 2020. We levied penalties January 1st that year just due to COVID. Sale of land is sitting at 99% right now. So we have 3 residential lots and one of the fully built homes have closed. And it also includes any deposits that we did collect through the recent lot draw process. Other revenue sitting at 112%. So primarily this overage is due to our town's equipment being sold at auction, and that money goes into that reserve. So it shows a little bit overage in our revenue, and then that money is transferred directly back into the fleet reserve just to offset that. Franchise fees, Fortis is sitting at 71 and Atco sitting at 79. They are both tracking as expected for the third quarter. Atco sitting a little bit higher, but nothing for us to be concerned about. And their payments have been received according to the typical distribution schedule from them. So if we go to expenses, again, we always kind of compare ourselves to that third quarter 75%. We're sitting at 64%, which is a good place to sit at. Reviewing last year's third quarter, we are seeing it sitting 4 percentage points more than what we saw last year. That doesn't mean necessarily anything yet. Salaries, we always like to look at salaries. So this is salaries inclusive. So salaries, benefits, everything. It's sitting at 67%. So we're well within that benchmark of that 75%. So we have no concerns at this time with our salaries. Membership fees are on par right now with the third quarter at 77%. They've kind of been sitting, hovering around here for a while because these typically, most of these do get paid at the beginning of the year. Audit fees is sitting at 114%. Typically, the costs for the audit that we paid this year was for last year's audit. So we're going to pay generally no fees for the 2025 audit this year, and we'll be paying for that early in the first quarter next year. Designated property taxes, or we'll call it DIP, that will be referred to as DIP potentially when you see it at, oh, I skipped one. Sorry, we'll go back to computer programming. That's sitting at 75%, and this includes things like our annual software subscriptions, any licensing renewals, ongoing technical support. Most of these contracts are paid in lump sums, and generally a lot of them at the beginning of the year. So we do see some higher end costs at the beginning, and then it tapers off near the end of the year. Okay, now we'll move back into designated property taxes. It is sitting at 100%, but we do have to wait until the end of February before we can get the mill rate issued by the provincial government, and it is just an in and an out on our numbers, very similar to the school tax. Telecommunications is sitting at 74%. Again, it follows one of those expense lines that has higher anticipated early year expenses, and it tapers off, and now we're kind of back into a line where we want to be. So this does include our monthly telephone and internet services, as well as our annual fire dispatch fees, which are paid annually at the beginning of the year. Grants to others is sitting at 83%. Again, this is primarily made up of our library requisition, so that it would be paid in January of the year. Planning services is sitting at 246%, so this is quite high. But just note that we did have a vacant position for the entire year, so we did have to utilize PCPS as a way to offset that lack of staff for us. We are sitting at 107% for our insurance. Again, this is one of those items that's paid early in the year. And in 2025, we did experience an overall increase of just under $26,000, which was about 10% compared to 2024. Land purchase is sitting at 249, but again, due to all the lots, the lot draw that we did this year, we did have some increased commissions, legal fees, and any other costs associated with that lot draw. It will also offset by that increased revenue that we're going to see this year from those sales. Other requisition is sitting at 109%, so that's the Parkland Foundation. We did see an increase from them this year on the mill rate. Again, that's an in and an out for that. And the franchise tax payment sitting at 107, so that's the ATCO Gas franchise tax payment has been made for the 2025 calendar year as well. All revenues expenses are generally within budgeted approvals for this quarter, and there are no concerns that we have. 2025 marks the second year that the town of Innisfail has been tracking our councillor professional development expenses. This is coming from the remuneration policy that council has. And so they have a budget. I did not update with the new councillors' names. I assume that likely not much would be happening this year. So this is what the current expenses are as of September 30th. We also do have a summary of operating capital projects as of September 30th, mind you, as part of this report, just to provide a total look at all of our finances. Would you like to go through some of those, Mayor Barkley? Yeah. Would you like to go through the income statement by department? So what this report is, it's just showing all the revenue by department, and then the second page is just showing all the expenses. So everything in each department is just lumped sum up together. It's just kind of a quick snapshot, so you can just look at the numbers a little bit differently. And then the next one, if we move on, it's just a summary income statement. So rather than department, it's kind of like by type, right? Keep going to the next one. Yeah. So first, it just looks at the revenue. So the first kind of little option is taxes. So you have real property taxes, local improvement charges, and then assessment appeal fees. So that's kind of there. Sale of our goods and services. So any water, sewer, garbage, recycling, anything from our utilities kind of comes in that top line. Any other sales and services and supplies, water, sewer connection fees, advertising, sale of land, so on. Any other revenue from owned sources. So this is where you can see for example, our penalties and costs, We are sitting at 96% on that, but yet there's very little opportunity for us to generate any more penalties for the year. Our next big penalty will come on January 1st. You know, you see all of our permit application fees, our compliance fees, offsite levy costs. There's where you see our animal and business license dollars. Our fine dollar revenue is sitting there. Any of our concession and franchises. You can see all our local conditional grants are sitting down there. And then if you keep going, then we move on to the expenses. So you can see salaries and wages. You can see that it's not broken down by anything. It's anything to do with salaries is kind of jumped up there. Allowances and other benefits, that is really what we use for recruitment costs. That's what that money is. And then you can see council fees and honorariums is also sitting on there. And then we get into a much larger list of broken down into our contracted and general services. So just kind of any number there that membership fees, bylaw, weed control contracts, our audit fees, our legal fees are on there. It's kind of broken out by group, right, rather than by department. Does anyone have any questions on any of these numbers?
Any questions? No?
Okay, if not, we'll just move into the next. You want to keep going down? Keep going. Keep going. I think it was on there twice, actually. Yeah, okay. Down one, keep going down. There we go. So this is kind of a new item. We've never really added this item before. So this is kind of just a summary list of all of our operating projects, just to give council kind of a snapshot of where we're sitting. So Fire Services Master Plan, we've really had no dollars spent. We're really ramping up right now, active on that Fire Services Master Plan. We have the cadet program, you can see there, not many expenses yet to come on that one. The Emergency Coordination Center exercise, I believe, is done. Now, our sidewalks are done as well, and we are a little bit over budget, but we did receive a grant for $15,000 to offset that overage, so we're really only over budget by about $2,500 or so. The new tree program, that was completed this year. The catch basin repairs, it may look like an odd number, but it was a large invoice, and only $40,000 was just put to that portion, right? So the Reservoir 1 cleaning and renovation are both completed. Smart Covers is completed. Our valve replacement, as well as the camera upgrades for the Res 2, 3, and RV station has not yet to be done, and public art is still there. So, does anyone have any questions about these specifically? Oh, okay.
Mayor Barkley, it may be a stupid question, but I'm going to ask it. What's a smart cover?
Yep. Nope. Never a dumb question. So, smart covers go, what we did is we bought three, what they are, sensors that go underneath our manholes, and they monitor flow as well as depth in order to monitor events for our sewer capacities. It helps us indicate any high infiltration, and we kind of try and break it down into certain areas.
And Mayor Barkley, I think that on accident, the other one got input twice, and our capital list of projects didn't get added in here. So I'm just going to find it and pop it into that folder so we can put it up here, okay?
Director Kennedy, I'm wondering going forward, and maybe you'll have it for budget, but I always love using the number of the 18-19 water wastewater asphalt replacement versus 23-24 number per linear meter, and I'm wondering if you would be able, maybe for budget, to have that new number available for what maybe 24-25 was. So, you had given us a figure at one point in time that to replace water, wastewater, and asphalt was $2,090 per linear meter, and in 23-24 it had risen to $2,900 per linear meter. So I'm wondering if it has risen again in 2025, 24-25.
2025 capital spreadsheet.
Yeah,
it's an Excel.
Nothing urgent, but.
I'm going to just hide that or clean that up. That was my working copy for. Okay, should be, hopefully it should be good now.
Can I pose a question, Mayor Barkley, to the director? Can you, sorry, it's come up. I was just going to ask, can you explain Res 1, Res 2, and what does that mean for the town of Innisfil?
Yeah, so for the operating project, for the cleaning was actually Res 2. Res 2, Res 3. So what we do is we go in every 2-3 years, we'll go in and actually clean out the reservoir. We'll get divers in there and they'll actually kind of skim the bottom, make sure there's nothing built up in the bottom of the reservoirs, as well as do an inspection to make sure there's no cracking, see how the piping is, all that. And then the Res 1 renovation is our old reservoir that we have by Cal Tire. We actually renovated that to make it into dry storage. So we put a big door at the bottom, so now our Parks Department uses that for equipment storage. For our mowers, other pieces of equipment that we don't want to leave outside. So we just, instead of just tearing it down, we thought we'd better utilize it for storage.
Okay, Mayor Barkley, we do have the capital budget spreadsheet up here. So we'll just go through from top to bottom and we'll pause at each project to see if anyone has any questions. So first we have the town office fire system. It has not been completed, so we're sitting at that right now. The next one, the town office generator preparation, we have not taken any steps on that one, and I do believe that we are going to pivot and likely not have this capital project anymore, because really the function of having that set up is if in an emergency and we still need to gain access to the town's financial computer software, that we need this building to run because it runs off of a server in that room right there. However, we are having to go through and search for a new financial system. So one of those things would be a focus on a cloud-based option so that we would not need to be here in the event of an emergency. So then the need for this project, that we don't need that project anymore. Okay, the next one here, oops, I'll unclick that, sorry. You can see the town office windows, so that has been completed this year. They're all completed. Council chambers upgrade, that has also been completed for the year, so that's good. Under protective services, the industrial washer and dryer has been purchased and is being utilized, as well as the new radio base station, so that is also completed. We'll get into operational services. So we do have the Southwest Industrial Design Construction, so that is over in our the new industrial area. This is all the road and underground infrastructure, getting it kind of all set up and ready to sell. It's still an open project because we still do have some final work to do on that project. The solar project has been completed as what it's being done today, so that's all the research and review, getting it ready to have a solar ready project to go. No further steps have been taken now. We're just kind of sitting in a wait period now. Operational yard electrical upgrades is in work. It's complete, so very under budget, so that's good. We have 2024 surface improvements. It's just about complete. We always leave our surface improvement projects up for another year to finish up any millings or anything that has to be done that second year. So 2025 is in motion right now, what we are doing for it. We did do a much far reduced program just due to the pool and other capacity internally. Our 2025 concrete and asphalt crushing is completed. Our 2025 operation shop repairs is also completed. For fleet, we have purchased the hydrovac truck, and so that is completed as well. For the fleets and our trailer purchase, are we all done those, Stephen?
Yep.
Yeah, that's all completed as well for the year. Water truck has been completed, has been purchased. So the utilities, the sanitary force main, it's ongoing, right? So that one's ongoing, and we'll be finishing that. We also have 40th Street infrastructure replacement, ongoing, also ongoing, so we're working on that one. Centerra lift station maintenance has not been completed yet.
Chat about that one.
Sure, yep.
So In regards to the Centerra lift station, we're going to pivot that one. You'll see that in our capital investment for next year. We were hoping to actually do a maintenance of that lift station and just do repairs to the wet well as well as the piping, but further investigation this year determined that we're actually maxed out on capacity on that lift station, as well as the conditions are kind of past maintenance. So we will be looking for pivoting that one into a replacement of the lift station in 2026.
So we'll move on. The park shop radiant heater is completed, but the park shop repairs down below, we're still working on fixing the exterior of the building. Energy conservation measures, what has been done has been completed. Likely we just have to go and formally close out that project now. The curling ring mechanical slab repair has been completed. We just haven't received any invoices yet for it. The construction of the Napoleon Meadows homes has been completed. What was 4 turned into 5. So we initially brought in 4 and we added in another one in after, which is why the increase in dollars. The Southwest Regional Development Design is completed as well. And the Napoleon South Land Development, we're well in doing that one. So again, the park shop repairs has not been completed. Arena shop. Yeah. Arena shop repairs we're also working through. The pool schematic and design has been completed, and that is because we are full into our Aquatic Center modernization. Again, that dollar is directly to September 30th of the year, so LLC completed. Yeah, and the 2 items at the LLC are both completed as well.
Okay, thank you, Director Vickers. Does anyone have any questions about any of the capital projects? Director Kennedy, can you just explain to us the what's left with the sanitary force main that I believe that was started this year?
No issues. We do just leave those open for 1 year following to cover any maintenance or items that become up deficiencies. So we do have holdback on some of them as well. So we do leave them open for 1 more year.
Councillor Wing.
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. And through to Director Vickers, if we can go down to the Aquatic Center, the modernization number, the $12,266,000, did we not amend that in April to increase it? Is that not the old number that we had at the beginning of January and then we increased it to 15?
But does that include the risk? So Mayor Barkley through to Councillor Wing, so that includes the risk. That there was that $1.4 million in anticipated potential risk. So I can update this number to include that number as well. I'm sorry, that was just my
No, I just wanted to be
numbers.
clear because that's an old number. So I just wanted to be clear on that one. Thank you.
Okay, any questions? Any questions about any of the financial information? We're all good? You'll see lots more of it in a couple weeks?
Yes.
So I'll just have someone make the recommended motion then, please.
No, the first one, 6.1, yeah.
Yep, 6.1.
There we go.
Councillor Hill.
Yes, Mayor Barkley, I'll make the motion that council approves the 3rd quarter financials as presented.
All right, perfect. All in favor? Carried. And then we'll go into 6.2 with a budget overview with Director Vickers.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Barkley. So the purpose of this report is just to provide council with what we've done in our budget for previous years and just to get some guidance or some input from council on how they expect the 2026 budget process to be. So the MGA outlines that municipalities are required to adopt an operating and capital budget by January 1st of that calendar year. So theoretically, the previous year. And this can be done through either a full annual budget or by passing an interim budget. So an annual budget is preferred as it does provide greater financial stability and certainty for the municipality. And it does establish a full financial plan for the year and allowing administration to just proceed with projects, programs, and services without delay. In contrast, an interim budget it generally is temporary for a short period of time and most of the time is typically limited to essential services only. So it might be this is going to be staff and our standard monthly costs going forward while we plan out our typical budget. An annual budget also supports long-term planning through reserve investment and ensures all expenditures are properly authorized, demonstrating accountability and transparency to residents while giving the town a clear framework to manage priorities throughout the whole year. So we do follow a structured budgeting process that focuses on accuracy, accountability, and long-term financial management. Each year, administration reviews current and projected financial conditions. We evaluate our funding sources and identifies operation and capital priorities to ensure that resources are allocated efficiently and decisions reflect both legislative requirements and council's approved plans and policies. So this is how we deal with it in a typical year. So in January to August, this is kind of where we're reviewing the budget that we had last year. We're receiving regular financial updates. We send those out to our managers so that we can monitor our account statuses, year-to-date balances. We're reviewing prior and current year-to-date results and identifying any operation or capital pressures during this time. All public participation generally happens during this time through several methods, such as online surveys, open houses, or even specific targeted engagement sessions. These just help gather any feedback on service levels, capital priorities, and any community needs. We do collect all input and we do review it, and we can use to help guide kind of what we do for early budget planning. And then department teams do begin their preliminary requirements for the upcoming fiscal year. This is where they're gathering their quotes, talking to suppliers, getting a feel for what they need to do. September and October, this is where departments must submit all of their kind of final numbers into corporate services. And then SLT then begins our review to align all the priorities across the organizations. We do refine financial forecasts, we update reserve balances, review any potential grant opportunities or any external funding opportunities that we can find. And then we do kind of our initial financial modeling to figure out impacts on taxation, utility rates, and overall funding requirements. In November, then, administration is finalizing all budget materials. We're compiling our documents and preparing budget binders for council's review. Budget binders are distributed to council a minimum of 24 hours before deliberation sessions. So that means the morning of Thursday the 20th, they would be ready for anyone to come pick up. You would have all day on the 20th and then the morning on the Friday to kind of review your budget binders. Budget sessions are typically held over 2 to 3 days in late November. Council has already determined the dates for this year. And administration provides council with a detailed review of the operating budget, capital budget, as well as the 10-year capital plan. And these sessions are open to the public. In December, we bring back the draft budget again at the first AMP meeting for council. Kind of, this is your last kick at the can, give us any further direction. You sat through budget deliberations and you didn't like one thing. This kind of gives you an opportunity to let us know 1 week in advance so we can kind of work through and do that. We try to. I know we've done it the last couple of years. And then we do final budget presented at the first regular council meeting in December. So this would be that second Monday. This year's December 8th, I believe. And then following approval, fairly immediately, once the budget is published, key highlights are communicated through the town's website and other channels. The town's budgets are presented to council in a line-by-line format that includes clear departmental breakdowns. It will have explanations of key projects and priorities and identification of funding sources. This structure will help council understand the funding impact of each service area specifically and evaluate where adjustments may be needed. The capital budget is supported by a 10-year capital plan that outlines anticipated infrastructure projects, cost estimates, and potential funding strategies. The plan also reflects the town's commitment to proactive asset management and ensures that investments in roads, utilities, facilities, and equipment are prioritized in a substantial way. So together, the operating capital budgets serve as a strategic tool that guide decision-making, maintain fiscal responsibility, and align resources with the town's long-term priorities. So just some service level impacts. So we do look, all of our managers take time and coordination across their departments. They look at their programs and their staff to see if services can be maintained or adjustments are needed for the year ahead. But then also the budget itself also takes significant time from everyone sitting in this room just about to manage and go through. The CAO has put his comments on the report, and if he has anything he'd like to say, he can go ahead, or if you have any questions for myself or CAO, sure. We're here to take any comments.
Okay. Thank you, Director Vickers.
Sure, if I could, Council, just add into the Director's report, certainly understand how challenging it could be to relay expectations at this stage of your elected official term. barely weeks in. Certainly, we need to pose the question administratively. The budget you'll see in due time will be presented to you in the lens of administration operations with some lens of community. Obviously, we put that together, but we anticipate, but we're not the lens of council. We cannot look through that lens. That's obviously respectfully, that's the role of council. So, however, to try to align the lens is really the ultimate goal is to achieve budgets. You've heard many times it's a want of administration for council to move into passing the budget within the calendar year. That's a want. Obviously, as per the reports, it's whatever the need of council is. If it falls within the calendar year, great. There's a lot of benefit and reasoning for that to occur. Obviously, council needs to expend the time required to understand the budget and approve it based on that lens of council, which holds the truth of your budget policy. Given that, as per the training the council received, regionally, there's a recommendation by the facilitator for council to spend time, whether it's now or some other time, that's for you to determine, just to extend that voice of what you learned during your campaign process. As a facilitator stated and heard it many times prior, is you'll not find a bigger public engagement than your campaigning, speaking to the citizens of the community in advance of the election. Again, I just strongly recommend council to consider allocating some time, and I'll pose that to you, Mayor Berkeley, maybe pose that question when that would be. It's really advantageous for administration to hear the voice of council to help us determine are we on that right track to achieve council's ultimate policy. And again, as per the director's questions, comments, are there targets you wish to achieve? Again, pass that message back to administration, how to present the budget. How does it look? Again, respecting you have not seen any level of detail of the budget, but is there anything that you're thinking about leading into budget in the next week and some? Is there targets that come to mind individually and collectively as council that we can grab onto to help put on the final touches? So I'll leave it with council.
Sure. Thank you, CEO Becker. So were you thinking that we would have like an opportunity to get together and discuss what we heard, or do you want to do that within a council meeting so we could come prepared maybe next week? Would it be an agenda item, or what are your thoughts around that?
I'll leave it to council whenever it's best suited. I can see, obviously now would be great, but obviously the agenda of council to really reflect on those conversations and those months of lead up. It makes sense to wait for more coordinated communication.
Yeah, I think it'd be wise for us to be able to prepare as opposed to just kind of throw things out. But are you thinking like for next Monday, CEO Becker, or like in a council meeting, in an A&P meeting, I guess it would be next Monday?
That's obviously within a meeting setting for sure. That makes sense for an A&P meeting, and certainly if council is willing to do that, it's your point of communication amongst council, which funnels into directives of administration. So it's really important that you as council has that dialogue, but also that we can hear that conversation too. And we talk about strategy. Your formal strategy process is in the new year, which ideally you'd have it now prior to budget. Budget's built around strategy. However, your conversation builds informal strategy. So we're formulating informal strategy. So the more we can get out of council for information and sharing, I see you as benefiting to understand where you're all at, but also helps us to making sure we're delivering on your expectations.
Sure. So I'll open it up to the rest of council, sure. And if you'd like to have this as an agenda item next Monday, where we would come prepared and give feedback on what we heard, and maybe also target. I guess when you're mentioning target, you mean a tax rate target, and what that might look like. So,
and just when I say target, Mayor Berkeley, the council. So we did this a few different ways for budget. We came in, give us a target, council, and they'd say a number of a potential tax increase, and then we kind of work in that area. Another year, council just said, bring it in to what you need, you think to move this forward, so you didn't give a target. So we came in And then we just kind of worked to with making sense what the budget is. So we came at it two different ways. Both ways ultimately work. But targets are good. However, if it's not a target, we'll come in for what we feel administratively should be part of your budget
And
initially.
Would we be able to see any detailed budget information next week? Because we're having this discussion. Because what if we're over here and we're way over there?
Yeah, I think that's the day one part, Mayor Barkley, to your question is, yeah, the detail comes on the Friday. So if there's no target till the Friday, that's fair. But yeah, it's really dependent on what you want to share,
Sure.
if anything
Okay.
at all.
No, fair enough. Councillor Wing?
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. Yeah, I would appreciate some structure around that. So just in thinking back, and not a criticism, it was just kind of the way things happened. Last year, we didn't have that intentional conversation. The other 3 years, we had been really deliberate. We'd had a couple of workshops where we'd come in and, voted with thoughts on the walls kind of idea. And we didn't do that last year, and it kind of made it a bit bumpy, I think. And so I would really encourage us to do that. If we're, one of the takeaways, and something that, I like to work this way, and then I took this away from George Cuff, was, we kind of do things backwards. We do a budget and then we do the strat plan, and we, it should be kind of how do we, so if we can talk about sort of, what we've been focused on, what our strategic goals have been, there's likely not going to be a major sea change in what we focus on as we move forward. But if we can keep those where we've been focused in front of us in this next conversation, that would be helpful from my perspective. And then, just in the past and for new councillors, we talk, and I think the numbers are maybe correct, but in the past we used to talk about $100,000 increase in our budget equates to a 1% tax increase. And so I just always have felt it helpful just to keep that $100,000 in mind. But again, I would really encourage that pre-conversation.
Councillor Hystad?
Thanks, Mayor Barkley. Yeah, I would agree. Having this discussion at an AMP, I just think it gets us prepared and get our head in the game, as well as, Councillor Wing and I and Mayor Barkley have been here for the last 4 years. So, what the new council members hear and see when they're out on their campaign trail is vitally important to our strat plan and our budget. So, thank you.
Anybody else? Everybody's prepared? Next Monday, we will do that.
Great.
Maybe also, see, but Becker, maybe could have a copy of the existing strat plan in our package, and maybe even a couple of the other reports, like the housing report. I know we're probably getting too many reports, but, I think of the work that BASA Social Innovation did as well, and kind of around that, and because that's kind of been, on the shelf a little bit, so just to kind of help guide us, and there's a lot of community feedback there in those documents as well. So
Great, thanks.
yeah, thank you. All right, so I'll just have somebody please make the recommended motion on the budget procedure. Councillor McKellar.
Mayor Barkley, I'll move that council accepts this report as information.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Carried. All right, and we'll move into 7.1 with Director Jenkins and Red Deer County Rec Agreement.
Thanks, Mayor Barkley. So just looking to provide council some awareness and an overview of the existing recreation and culture grant agreement between the town and Red Deer County. So we have an agreement that is intended to support the operation and maintenance of town facilities that are accessed by county residents through an annual contribution. In return, the town does not differentiate access or fees for county residents. The county has similar agreements with their other urban partners within Red Deer County, and the rates are based on a combination of a base amount, a per capita rate based on a determined catchment area within the county, estimated to be where residents would primarily use Innisfail as their service delivery center, and then the various recreation and culture facilities present in each community. So 2026 is year 4 of our 5-year agreement that will expire at the end of 2027. The 2026 contribution is $470,014, and there is a 2.5% escalator. So in 2027, we'll be up to $481,764. So within our operating budgets, we distribute that dollar amount amongst our various operating centers. So $192,000 goes to the arena and the aquatic center. The remainder of the allocation is put towards our parks, facilities, and community services departments. In addition, the agreement identifies that the county will, on a case-by-case basis, review requests for capital contributions for new facilities or refurbishments. So within that agreement, you can see the payment schedule over the 5 years of the term, as well as what is identified as the Innisfail catchment area within Red Deer County. So on that Schedule B, you can see that based on the various facilities that exist in town, there's a set dollar amount for each facility, and then the $50 per capita, which is multiplied by that catchment population, and then the base amount of $75,000. So again, just for council's awareness of that agreement.
Right. Thank you, Director Jenkins. Any questions? I'm wondering at some point going forward, if Director Jenkins, you could bring back like the participants from the county in our arena, like minor hockey.
Yeah, we can bring our
library, the whole, just for new counselors to be
our
aware.
statistics
Yeah.
for various facilities and users. We do tend to see between that sort of 25 and 30% is in terms of usage, school enrollment, program usage, where we see that 25 to 30% county users versus 75% town users. But yeah, we can bring those stats back.
And also, Director Jenkins, was there a fee for the library? Did they, just trying to remember, did they put some extra in for the library?
So there's a
last 2
separate
years?
county contribution that goes
Okay.
directly to the library as well.
We have another agreement too, that we get like 16 grand from the library. Okay. CO Becker?
Mayor Barkley, just with the practice of giving accurate direction, could you provide a motion to your request, please?
Yep, for sure. So I will make a motion that we ask Director Jenkins to bring back user numbers in our facilities that relate to Red Deer County residents. And maybe that comes at budget time or something. No, not a big rush on that, but, okay, so we have a motion. Councillor Wing? Okay, you're voting, okay. Okay, all in favor? All right, carried. Okay, and then we'll have a motion on this report as well. Councillor Wing?
Mayor Barkley, I'll move that council accept this report as information.
Okay, all in favor? Carried. And we'll move into the Aquatic Center Modernization Overview with Director Jenkins.
Thank you. So again, sort of a project update as well as some background for new counselors. So the Aquatic Center was constructed in '87 and received minimal reinvestment throughout its life cycle. In January of 2025, the project was approved with an original budget of $12,266. You'll notice that that's the number that Councillor Wing highlighted in our capital sheet, to be funded through Rec Facility Reserve, debenture, and grant funding. At that time, the project was awarded to Shandos Construction and Group 2. In general, the modernization includes upgrades to the building envelope and exterior, including walls, windows, roof, skylights, exterior cladding, as well as associated hazardous building material removal, including mold and asbestos, full updates of mechanical and electrical systems, heating, cooling, ventilation, as well as the pool filtration systems and lighting. And then additional interior facility upgrades, including the replacement of the existing hot tub with a new stainless steel hot tub, full refurbishment of the steam room, the newly configured universal change rooms, reconfiguration of the office, and then new tile and paint throughout the facility. So a validation report was completed and presented to council in April with the base scope cost of 12.2 million, with the contingency project total 14.9. So I have just included a couple of base, the floor plan and exterior images in the report, as well as going to have Juanita just bring up the Involve Innisfail site is our public participation sort of portal that we're utilizing for various projects. It's the best place for information on various projects, but we can just go into the Aquatic Center and provide a bit of an overview. If you haven't already, if you click follow and provide your email, you will get updates when we add new information to this site. I believe as of today, we have 34 subscribers to the page. So provides an overview of the project, provides all of the information. You can access all the information that was on the display boards at the public open house, as well as some FAQs, and then each month providing an update of where the project's at. So right now, continued demolition of the hot tub, doing a fair amount of work on the exterior of the building. This is one area when they took off the exterior cladding, there were some things they weren't anticipating under the walls, and there's three different wall constructions for the exterior, so there was sort of a combination of spray foam on the south and west walls. Another additional insulation was added on the east wall, so working through that to get the new siding properly installed on top of that. So if you just want to scroll down to the picture, you can see they removed the windows in the vestibule. So that's, I think actually by the end of last week, there was new glass up on the vestibule. This is the demolition of the hot tub. It has taken a long time as they essentially have to jackhammer and then shovel it out of there. This is the change room shower area, prepped for concrete, and then I believe there's a picture with the concrete has been poured within the new change room area. They'll be starting on the masonry work, so the new walls within the change room this week. And yeah, things continue on. We're starting to see new pieces of HVAC equipment showing up all the time. So yeah, this is your best source of information if people are asking questions or if you have questions. Essentially everything that's been going on with the project is here. And there's lots of more detailed floor plans and the exterior elevations. So if you want to swap back to the report, just on that financial side, so we continue to pursue grant opportunities. We have applications submitted with both Infrastructure Canada as well as the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. Once the project's complete, we're able to apply for up to $500,000 from the Municipal Climate Change Action Center. As well, the Kinsman Club has supported us in applying for a few smaller grants that municipalities aren't eligible for, but as a club they can, or a not-for-profit, they can submit those applications. To date, we do not have responses, positive or negative, on any of them. The Infrastructure Canada grant was submitted last October, and we're told it was a 12 to 18 month turnaround time, so we're at about month 13 of that one. FCM, we applied in February, and that one's a 12-month turnaround, so hopefully by the time the project is nearing completion, we should have at least knowledge of where we sit with these grant applications. And we will continue to watch for some of the smaller community grants as we go through. In addition, back in June, Red Deer County did commit $1.65 million to be paid over 10 years. As was sort of mentioned in some of the earlier reports this evening, we have been working over a number of years to build up the capacity for the debt payments associated with this larger project. And right now, we're just getting to the point, we'll be fully utilizing the balance of that reserve and then moving into a line of credit as we get to the end of the project and know where we sit with respect to grants as well as sort of final project costs. Then we'll be able to determine what we would be looking to roll over into a longer term financing product. Perhaps Director Vickers, if you want to explain the table with the tax increases.
Yes. Okay, Mayor Barkley. So back in 2020, well, actually 23 was kind of the first year we started that. We needed to build capacity in our budget to make a debt payment. We are working very hard to save as much money we can and apply for all the grants to minimize that. But in the worst case scenario, we need to fully fund this project. So we knew that we weren't able to kind of do one large tax increase once a year to get that entire $967,000 as a tax, as a payment. So we started doing that over and bridging that over years. So we started in 2023. We kind of started with right around 200,000 or just under that 200,000 mark. And then we've been increasing it by about 189,000 in 24 and 25. In 26, we up it to 193. 27, we had a plan sitting at around that 910 payment option. Recalculating the numbers made us, we do need to make sure we have capacity for a payment of 967,000, which in 2027 we will be able to achieve that number. As Director Jenkins said, this year we will be utilizing the dollars from the reserve funding first, just so that we reduce as much interest costs owing to us as possible. And then once we've spent our reserve, then we'll start doing draws on the line of credit, which we do have now.
So any questions? And again, there'll be additional, we'll likely review a fair bit of the financial information through our budget discussions.
All right, thank you, Director Jenkins. Councillor Russell.
So I have some questions about the tax increase. Forgive me, I wasn't part of the initial discussion here, but the percentage of tax increase that you're suggesting there, is that only needed if we do not receive any of the grants, or is that needed on top of the grants that we've applied for? And if we do not receive the grants, what does that mean for the bottom line would be my question.
So Mayor Barkley through to Councillor Russell. So that is the dollar number that we need if we receive 0 grants and we fully expend out this line of credit, and we have to make this payment now for 25 years. Essentially, it's becoming a loan that we're making that payment on. If we get these grants, that will offset and it will be lowered, and then we won't have those payments.
So Mayor Barkley, so would the plan be to not have the tax increase if we find out in February? Like you said, a few of these grants we should find out in the next 4 to 6 months whether we received them or not, the substantial ones. Would that mean we would not need to have that tax increase, or is the plan to have that to replenish the pool that you had put in there in the reserve?
So Mayor Barkley through to Councillor Russell, at this time it would be to maintain those tax increases and maintain it for this payment. And if we don't need this payment for the next project that you're going to see in a couple of years, we'll be asking likely for another debenture payment. We have a large arena project coming up in 2030, so it's either we need money built up for debt, right? So we're either going to pay debt on this project or potentially another one, or then we're going to invest into reserves.
Just to add, Mayor Barkley, so the town's financial weakness was we didn't have capacity to buy debt. Ultimately, we were so well off, we thought, with reserves and maintain reasonable tax increases or none at all. But we didn't have any capacity to buy debt to build up projects. We believe that by being able to buy debt into the Aquatic Center, if it comes out great. We don't need all this debt. We are still well suited to meet those other pressures that we're facing, i.e. the arena $8 million draw required in 5-6 years. So we're setting ourselves up to be able to achieve those needed projects with a debt capacity. If that makes sense.
Okay. Any other questions? Don't see any, then I'll just have a motion, please, that we accept the report as information. Councillor Strong.
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. That council accepts this report as information.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Carried. We will get CPKC in here at some point in time. New Year, maybe. Just have a motion, please, to accept the correspondence and as information.
Mayor Barkley, I'll accept the correspondence, or make a motion to accept the correspondence as information.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions, anything about the police report or RCMP report? Nothing? All in favor? Carried. Then we'll go into council reports. So Councillor Wing.
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. I submitted my report, and I do not have anything to add at this time.
All right, thank you. And Councillor Strong.
Mayor Barkley, I did not submit a report. There's nothing to report right now. So when I do something, I'll put a report in.
No, fair enough.
But I did, just one note, I did make council meeting in person, not
Yes,
from
you did.
Zoom.
Yeah, you're not zooming from Texas, so. Councillor Hill.
I do have a report, but I did not submit my report. I had attended my first MPC meeting on November 4th, and I am going to be vice chair to Danny Rieberger for, I think, the second time. So definitely excited, and yeah, it's nice to hear that some of the issues that we faced in previous years of me being on council, like driveway widths, are being addressed, and hopefully it'll be no longer be a bee in someone's bonnet, because it's yeah, it's nice to see that things are being dealt with. So thank you.
Did you have anything to report to us from MPC that you want to tell us about? Or?
No, not really. There was just it was very just more kind of getting your feet wet and establishing the chair and vice chair.
Okay, perfect. Thanks. All right, and Councillor Hystad is going to on the list here.
Yeah, I'll just move my report.
Okay, Councillor Russell.
I submitted my report. I have nothing further to add.
Okay, Councillor McKellar.
And Mayor Barkley, I submitted my report and nothing further to add.
Perfect. And I as well, so don't have anything more. We'll see everybody at Remembrance Day ceremonies tomorrow, 10:30 at the Legion, those who are coming, and then off to Alberta Munis for the week. So we'll move into upcoming events. Well, you're already ahead of me as always. Just have someone please make a motion that we accept the upcoming events as information. Councillor Russell.
Mayor Barkley, I'll make that motion.
Awesome, thank you. All in favor? Carried. And then we will have a motion to go in camera.
I'll make that motion, Mayor Barkley.
Thank you, Councillor Wing. All in favor? Carried.